In 2012, 20 miles deep in an underwater cave in the Yucatan Peninsula, divers discovered the skeleton of a teenage girl. She was named Naya and was dated to be 13,000 years old, making her the beginning of human history in Mexico. Notice I deliberately said human history. 65 million years ago, the meteorite the size of Rhode Island hit the Yucatan Peninsula. This was the meteorite that killed the dinosaurs. The crater it made was the size of Lebanon. This meteorite was named the Chicxulub meteorite, which is Mayan. The crater is now 300 feet beneath the surface of the Yucatan Peninsula and Caribbean Sea. Around 4,000 years ago, the weird Olmecs, who are known for making stone heads, began developing a unique civilization and culture. Their culture was centered in their capital city, which is now known as La Venta. The city once had over 18,000 people. Around 3,200 years ago, the Olmecs randomly disappeared without a trace. Around 2000 BCE, the famous Mayan Empire was founded. The Mayans built many temples that still exist, including Tikal, the Temple of Inscriptions, aka the Temple of the Red Queen, which has a creepy skeleton in it, and, most notably, Chichen Itza. Unlike many people who will be mentioned in this video, the Mayans still are a very real people and still exist today and face discrimination in their native country, which is now Guatemala. Around 400 BCE, the monumentally humongous city of Teotihuacan was founded by unknown people. By 300 BCE, 100 years later, Teotihuacan's famous Pyramid of the Sun and Pyramid of the Moon were built. Eventually, the city was abandoned. It was later taken over by the Aztecs, who figured that it could only have been built by their gods. It was so impressive to them. Oh, just in case you're wondering, the maximum population of this city at its peak was 200,000. At about 900, another elusive culture began and ended very quickly. I'm talking about the Toltecs. These Toltecs had a vast empire and a unique religion which involved the use of statues to depict their gods and idols. The Toltecs' capital, which we now call Tula, features the Temple of Quetzalcoatl, or the Temple of the Snake God as it translates. This temple has hundreds of statues on it. The Toltecs and their empire ended in 1112 when another mysterious people, who we know almost nothing about, called the Chichimecs, conquered the Toltecs before also disappearing themselves. Yeah, this is a recurring trend in this video. Brace yourself, this is a long one. In 1325, the Aztec Empire was founded by the Aztecs. Obviously. These people were a lot more well documented than the other peoples I've mentioned in this video, allowing us to know that they had a large empire called, well, the Aztec Empire. If we look at the flag of Mexico, we can see the story, aka legend, of how they built their capital of Tenochtitlan. Here goes. The Mexica, a tribe that are part of the Aztecs, were nomadic. Their patron god was Huitzilopochtli, who they believed would show up in the form of an eagle and show them where to build their capital city. And when they reached a lake, which is called Lake Texcoco, which no longer exists, they saw an island. In that island, they saw a cactus. On top of it was an eagle eating a snake. And this was where they built their capital, Tenochtitlan. They built it directly on the lake. At its peak, Tenochtitlan had 200,000 people, comparable to Salt Lake City today. Mexico City is currently built directly on top of this lake, causing it to sink 3 centimeters a year. But this glory time for the Aztecs would later end, as well as Tenochtitlan. In 1519, the Aztecs found themselves to no longer be alone with the arrival of the Spanish, led by Hernan Cortez. When he first saw Tenochtitlan from a cliff, he must have started phasing out. It must have been so alien and foreign to him. Unbeknownst to Cortez, when the Aztecs saw him arriving, They didn't think that he was an invader. They thought he was their god, who I mentioned earlier, which is why the Aztecs and their leader, Montezuma, treated him very nicely. But Cortez was not so keen on being nice to them. Montezuma was later found to be unpopular with the other Aztecs for letting the Spanish stay, which was why he was later shot to death with arrows and stoned to death at the same time. Very brutal. Then, the Spanish burned down Tenochtitlan. The Spanish and the remaining Aztecs then fought at the Battle of Otumba. The Spanish and the Tlaxcalans, a rival tribe of the Mexica division of the Aztecs, later defeated the rest of the Aztecs. Then, Mexico City was established on top of Tenochtitlan, which is where it still remains today. By the time the Spanish left, 188,000 Aztecs had died, which caused the fall of the Aztec Empire. By 1521, Spain had established New Spain, which stretched from all the way from California to Texas to the modern-day country of Panama. This lasted all the way until 1821. This is also why so many people in Mexico and other Central and South American countries speak Spanish today. What could have possibly ended New Spain, you ask? Well, that was the Mexican War of Independence, of course. On this day, September 16th, Mexico declared independence from Spain in 1816. A revolt led by a priest named Miguel Hidalgo y Castillo led to Mexico declaring independence from Spain, as I just mentioned. This began the Mexican War of Independence. From its first battle on Halloween of 1820 in Mexico City to its last battle on August 19th, 1821, just outside of Mexico City, around 500,000 Mexicans died in this war, making it Mexico's second bloodiest war. If you watched my History California video, you probably saw this coming. From 1846 to 1848, Mexico fought with the United States in the Mexican-American War. It was a defeat for Mexico. Plus, they lost a fourth of their land as well as 5,000 people in almost 2 years. The Mexican War of Independence was the second bloodiest war in Mexican history. This is the bloodiest. From 1910 to 1924, Mexico had an internal revolution known as the Mexican Revolution. It was fought to end the rule of a dictator named Porfirio Diaz. It was won by the revolutionaries. Around 1.5 million Mexicans, both revolutionary and anti-revolutionary, died, making this Mexico's bloodiest war or conflict in its history. And lastly, in 2018, Andres Obrador was elected the president of Mexico, which he still is today. And with that is my history of the history-filled country we call Mexico. Thank you all so much for watching. Coming up next is my 4-part series, the Wartime series, as I'm calling it. It's going to have 4 videos, each on different conflicts, including the American Revolution, which is the next video, by the way, and is coming out on September 19th. After that will be the American Civil War, then World War I, and then World War II. Look forward to my next video on September 19th, the American Revolution. Until then, enjoy your day/night. I'm out. Thanks for watching.